There's something about a serpent that stirs something deep in the human heart. It winds its way through history, through Eden, through Egypt, and the empires of the East. But in the East, the ancient rhythms of the lunar calendar, the snake does not tempt, it teaches. For the Chinese zodiac, the year of the snake is not about danger or deception. No, it's about wisdom, elegance, strategy, and a patient power that knows how to wait for the right moment and when to strike. Born under the sign of the snake are thinkers, philosophers, mystics, planners, and leaders. They don't boast, they don't rush, they know that silence can sometimes be louder than a roar. And so the Perth Mint, the proud keepers of precious metal art from the sunburned land of Australia, paid tribute to this ancient wisdom. In 2013, they released one of these coins, and here 12 years later, we have another one. 1 troy ounce of 4/9 fine silver, struck with exquisite precision. And more than that, this one colorized. In brilliant hues of iridescent blue, golden eyes, the shimmer of silver scales coiled on a canvas of purity, as well as willow leaves and the earth complete the scene. It's not just bullion, it's storytelling in metal. And those lucky enough to hold such a coin realize it's not just a coin. They've held the whispers of the East, a token of strategy and vision. And in uncertain times, there are many who would rather bet on the quiet genius of the snake than the noise of the herd. Because silver may tarnish, markets may shake, but the lesson of the serpent and of the other lunar companions, they endure. So this is the 2025 Lunar Snake, as we stated, from the amazing Perth Mint. A colorized variant which dramatically reduces the mintage and dramatically elevates the beauty, which is often hard to do on silver coins. I picked this coin up from APMEX, as I do basically all of my coins, on an amazing sale where this colorized version was only a couple of dollars more than the non-colorized variety. I have a link that looks like this, so if you consider shopping at APMEX, I would encourage you to use this link. I don't get paid, but it does show APMEX the value of this channel in hopes that we can partner in projects in the future. And as you can see, it has already started selling for $50+, which is a great thing to see. But now that you know the financial investment that you could get with this coin, let's place it on our 60-point scale to see if it truly is right for your collection. We look at the obverse, which is this side right here. We are greeted by the artistry of Dan Thorne, who has become a master of regal effigies, this being no exception. Charles is in full repose as we see all of the markings of a great Perth Mint coin, including, yes, the extra 9, as we get 4 of them here. It is a great design as always, but we know it could always be a little bit better, as incorporations of the theme could be present on both sides, as we see here on the Royal Australian Mint lunar cycle. All the animals, all 12, sitting here, shifting depending on the year, this one being the ox, so it's in the 12 o'clock position, and what do you know? The ox is there, so we do have artistry on both sides of that scene. That is really the only detraction I have on this coin. For the obverse, at least, it is good, but it could have been great. So it does score an 8, and I assume until this cycle has ended and we get to the final animal and it repeats, we will have to have just this basic obverse because they don't change it for the series. The reverse is next, and I must say out front that I'm not usually a fan of colorized silver, as in my experience it's very hard to match the quality of the strike appropriately with color. But with advancements in technology and a bit of luck, you might find something that works. This coin is an example of when color and silver merge in the best of ways. What a fascinating color of snake. I love the way the little eyes pop, that gold right there. This is Trimerceros insularis. It has many names, but is often most classified as a white-lipped pit viper. This particular color variation of blue is extremely rare and only found on a smattering of islands around Komodo, stretching through Sumatra. Blue is rare in the animal world in general, and a blue snake is even more so. At first look, you might think that this is a beautiful yet unrealistic snake due to the color, and now we know it is indeed a real snake living out there in the southern jungles of the Asian Pacific. As our focus moves outward, we see the draped branches and leaves mimicking that of a weeping willow, where we see the snake in Mandarin as well as in English near the year 2025. We also see the land the snake rests has water around it, separating it from the background terra. It's an amazing scene, and in fact, the lunar legend has it that the snake and the other 11 companions were in a race to reach the Jade Palace, and the lunar order is based on the sequence in which they finished that race. You can learn all about this lunar cycle if you watch my lunar rat video, which looks like this, the rat being the first in the cycle. This being said, this scene makes total sense as it is to be depicting the arrival to the sacred Jade Palace of lunar lore. We see here the P Mint mark at the 9 o'clock position, reminding us that this is a Perth Mint coin, as well as a small SR here under the lower left coil of the Viper, which stands for Sean Rogers, who was the designer of this side. I cannot imagine this looking any better. These eyes tend to put me under a trance when I stare too long, and I score it a 10. Mintage is where we go next. Lunar coins are highly popular. In fact, I would say that they are as popular as any other series out there and might actually be the most popular series in the world, which is why so many mints have created their own variety. This being said, usually lunar coins are minted with a high number, but this colorized version keeps the numbers fairly low, in this case 50,000, which scores an 8. Cultural significance is next, and one of my favorite areas to grade. The lunar cycle is just so much fun. I remember as a child eating at Asian buffets, and the placemats under the plate had a lunar cycle. I found it so much fun to find my animal and then the animals representing my family members. Our family loved this, with the exception of my mother, who realized she was a lunar pig. Not much fun for her after that. The lunar cycle has always fascinated me, and I'm sure many others, as it was an early recorded tradition that tried to link the human world with the world of nature in a way that reflects reverence and understanding. This coin was minted in Australia, and as you can imagine with geography, Australia is a place that has seen both tourism and residential growth in Asian populations. It is estimated between 15 and 20% of Australia's population, to my knowledge, is now Asian, which is probably why they have such amazing lunar festivals. In fact, I have seen watch parties on YouTube where people will actually hang out and have a party in anticipation of the first artwork renderings of a lunar coin, showing how important this series from Perth is to the people of Australia. It is fair to say the lunar cycle is not an Australian tradition traditionally, but it's also fair to say that it has been adopted as a tradition and impactful for a large population within the country. I score it an 8. Now for collectibility. As noted before, I would hold lunar coins as collectible as even the mighty kookaburra. There is a rich history, a captivating story, amazing artwork, and a 12-year journey, and a world-class product, as the Perth Mint is wholly known for. If I were to point to a single series to get anyone from kids to adults into numismatics or silver coin collecting, this would probably be the one that I choose. There's so much to learn and love, and each person having their own specific year, there's almost a pride in holding the coin for your clan. I scored a 10. We're now at the last category, which is uniqueness. This can be quite saturated of a series, as noted before. Every mint wants to be a part of this, basically because it is highly popular and public domain. Both coins and rounds are struck yearly to try to capture the essence of the 12 legendary animals. Luckily, the greats, like Bhutan, Perth, the Royal Australian Mint, Rwanda, just to name a few, found a way to connect the 12-year cycle in a way that brings uniqueness. I can look at the obverse, for example, of a Royal Australian Mint coin and know it's from the Royal Australian Mint. I can look at the design of Bhutan and know it's from Bhutan. And I can definitely know the mosaicism of Rwanda and know that this is in fact a Rwandan coin for their lunar cycle. And that is because of design choice. Perth is in its own series, and I think it's an amazing one. So I scored an 8, which is appropriate, which brings us to our final thoughts and score. This white-lipped pit viper strikes across the line in an elite 52 out of 60. It has made it to the promised land of elites like so many of its lunar friends. This is a coin that even the non-colorized should be considered for all collectors. If you're a stacker, I think it's nice to have a few pieces worth enjoying, and this series would be an easy one to commit to because you only need one coin per year for 12 years. So I think it's really a coin that can be enjoyed by everyone. I certainly love it, and I hope that one day I can bring the stories of these lunar animals to my grandchildren. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, please remember to stay classy and current with the culture of currency.